Let's begin by talking about the ruler that we'll be using. We're going to be using the inches side, so the side that goes 1 to 12. Now remember that some rulers do not start exactly at 0. This ruler has a small gap, so that first line is where we want to line up our paper because that's where 0 is. Some rulers have printed 0, this one has not. Now let's start to scale our paper. The paper I have in this video is a 15 by 21, so I'm counting by threes on my rulers. I'm going from 3, 6, 9, 12, then moving my ruler and continuing it. If you have a 10 by 14 paper, you'll be counting by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then moving your ruler to continue the side. I'm working left to right on all sides of the paper. No matter if I'm going from the top to the bottom, the ruler is moving left to right, so that when you make your straight lines with a larger ruler, you're connecting to the correct line. If there's a small imperfection at the bottom of the paper, we can trim it with a paper cutter. I'm using a large ruler to connect the dots from each side of the paper. I'm making sure I'm lining them up, and then gently using my pencil to draw a straight line. Now the ruler I have is 18 inches, so it's able to go across the paper. If you do not have a ruler long enough, use a yardstick. I don't have a yardstick at home, so I used a large ruler and then lined it up with a smaller ruler, making sure I held them tight so that they will not slip and have a crooked line. You really want to make sure your grid is straight. Now my 15 by 21 is all finished. Here is also the 10 by 14 finished on top. So both of these grid papers are done and ready for the next step. Now we're getting ready to grid our photograph. Our photograph is a 5 by 7, so we will be marking these off at every inch. So I'm going down the ruler, marking from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then using the ruler to connect the lines across the photo. After this is done, I will flip the photo over and then do the other side, which is only 5 inches long. Something doesn't look right there. So I remeasured it and I had that measurement wrong, and it's okay to check your measurements. You want to double check your measurements at the beginning when we're working with pencil, because if something's wrong at this point, it's going to throw off your drawing when you get further along. So take your time, make sure you're measuring the correct inches. Once you finish adding the grid to your photograph, you're going to slide this photo into your sheet protector. Now let's practice drawing our portraits with our Expo markers. So the sheet protector is able to erase the Expo marker. So what you're going to be doing with the Expo marker is just trying out to see what marks you're going to want to trace in the figure. Definitely make sure you have the outline of the head and any major features. You can stylize the hair or include small details in the hair. This is where you're just trying out marks. If you like to design on a t-shirt, you can also do that. I chose not to trace the pineapples on the t-shirt, but that's up to you. Here I'm just erasing some parts of the face and trying out different marks to show off those dimples, playing around with the eyebrows, seeing which features I do like or I don't like. Maybe I want to try doing the hair again. That's fine. This is what the Expo markers are used for, to practice. We will only be focusing on the portrait of the person, not what's in the background for this project. So please only include what's in the portrait. For the next part of this, you're going to be erasing your Expo markers when you feel comfortable with your portrait that you've created. Then you're going to be taking a black Sharpie to recreate that drawing of the portrait, and then using a colored Sharpie and a ruler to retrace these grid lines so that there's a difference between your portrait and the grid lines. You don't want the two blending in because that's going to cause you trouble when you're trying to scale your drawing up. Once done with the Sharpies, you need to take your photo out of your sheet protector Flip it over and put it back in. This is to allow the white of the paper to show your line drawing better. You still have your reference image on the back, so if you want to double check a detail, you can just flip it over. Now let's get started on gridding our drawing. So what I'm using is a viewfinder that is 1 inch by 1 inch. I'm going box by box, transforming what I see in the box to that correlating box on a larger paper. Now I have this in hyperspeed, but this took at least 45 to an hour to do. Take your time, go slow, and look at the details of each box. Look at how the line is connected in the box. Is it at the halfway point? Is it 3/4 down? These are questions you're asking yourself as you view the box. Drawing lightly is key for this. Now at the end, you can use your reference photo to get those small details like the teeth, which were hard to see with the Sharpie. Final touches. Now that your drawing is done, you're going to need to Sharpie over your pencil lines. You're Sharpieing just the portrait, not the grid lines. You're also not filling in areas with the black Sharpie. So your eyebrows, do not fill in all black. We will be adding color for the second portion of this lesson. After you're done Sharpieing your portrait, you're going to erase the pencil lines underneath your Sharpie. Be careful not to erase your grid lines because you still need that for the second portion. After you're done with all of this, please grade yourself on the rubric and then get ready for the second part of the lesson.